even believe Benefit's still making new makeup? Well, they're not really making new makeup. This is not what we want. Hello, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for being here. That was super sweet of you. Oh my goodness, what do you think of this eye look, you guys? I was going for a key lime vibe today. I'm on a big key lime kick right now. I'm actually wearing a water activated liner that the name of it is Key Lime Pie. It's from Be Elegant Cosmetics. It's one of their Sweet Treats pastel liners and it's called Key Lime Pie. It's so cute. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna give you a couple of other key lime faves of mine. I know nobody asked for this, but I want to share the key lime love. Okay, the first one is this candle. I got it from Marshalls, so I know it's always hard to give a Marshalls rec because Marshalls and TJ Maxx and TK Maxx, which I found out it's called in the UK, you know, it can kind of be a mishmash of things, but DW Home tends to be a brand that they always have. That's like a big candle brand they carry, and they have a key lime pie scented candle that is literally my favorite thing. I was just burning it. It's like all liquidy at the top because I was just burning it, but oh, it smells exactly like key lime pie. It is a delight and perfect for summer. Another key lime fave of mine is the Brooklyn Bel Air Sours. They have a key lime pie flavored flavor. I'll put it right here. I don't have any right now because we drank them all. This is like my favorite beer right now. It is so good, so refreshing, so good for summertime, and it tastes just like key lime pie. But that's not what this video is about. You did not click on this video to hear all of my key lime favorites, and if you did, I'm so glad I could answer those for you. Please tell me all of your key lime favorites. No, you clicked on this video because you, like me, have an interest in my May makeup anti-haul. Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay, I would say I'm excited, but I don't know if excited is the word because there's a lot of bad makeup releases this month. I don't know what the title of this video is gonna be, but I feel like it's gonna be something along the lines of Battle of the Worst Bronzers I've ever seen, because it seems like every single company is battling to come out with the worst bronzer range of all time. So we got a lot of bad new makeup releases to talk about today, so let's get right into it. So if that sounds like a topic that is interesting to you and you want to hear all about the products that I'm anti-hauling for the month of May, then I encourage you to please subscribe and keep on watching 'cause it's coming at you right now. The first product that I'd like to talk about with you today is from Benefit. Can you even believe Benefit's still making new makeup? Well, they're not really making new makeup. Benefit has come out with their Hoola Contourist Matte Bronzer Palette. And yep, you guessed it, there's no new products in here. It's just all of their existing bronzers in a palette. So let me break it down for you. What Benefit has done here is instead of listening to all of the comments they're constantly getting from consumers saying, hey, expand your bronzer range, you don't have bronzers for people with deeper skin tones, your bronzer range is abysmal. Instead of listening to those comments and expanding that range and coming out with new shades, they have just put them all into a palette for you for God knows why. I was reading the comments under this and everyone was saying, you know, like the only thing we could potentially think of is if you were a makeup artist, maybe you could use this, but honestly, not even, because this is still not enough shades for a makeup artist to have. So this is just truly one of the dumbest makeup releases I think I've ever seen. It's just such a clear-cut example of big brands not listening to their consumers and truthfully not caring about their consumers. I wish I had seen this palette before I made my video earlier this week taking a deep dive into face palettes and why I think face palettes suck and are always so uninclusive, because this just hits every single one of those levels. In that video, I talked about makeup brands not coming out with inclusive face palettes because they don't care. I talked about them not coming out with inclusive face palettes because they are cheap and don't want to invest into it, and also because they don't have a diverse production team and are not collaborating with a diverse group of people. And Benefit, I feel like, is hitting all three right here. You know, they clearly don't care about their consumers, right? Because if you look under all of the trend mood comments of all of their bronzers they've ever released, it's just filled with people saying, this is not what we want. We want a deeper bronzer range. We want you to expand your range of bronzers. This does not serve the community that you are trying to serve. So we know they don't listen to consumers, and we know that they're cheap because they literally just keep releasing the same bronzers. All of these bronzers already exist in this Contourist palette. It's made up of the Hoola Original, the Hoola Light, the Hoola Caramel, and the Hoola Toasted. Those are all existing existing bronzers. There's nothing new in here. I don't know why they are so determined to just keep shuffling up the same bronzers. They do this with their face palettes too. When they throw those bronzers and they'll throw like their Georgia blush and then they'll throw like the cookie highlighter in a palette, you know, all those cheek leaders palettes they're always doing. Benefit is just constantly shuffling up products that already exist and putting them in new packaging. And I feel like that is just like the cheapest thing you can possibly do. And lastly, they clearly do not have a diverse group of people on their production team, because if they did, the bronzers would be expanded. Either that or they just don't listen to the people on their production team. It feels like Benefit is maybe just like run by a bunch of robots who just, you know how people make videos like teaching AI to do something where they like give AI a bunch of like Seinfeld scripts and then it like writes its own episode? I feel like Benefit is like feeding AI a bunch of like bland bronzers and then the AI is just like spitting out different palettes with the same bronzers in it. I don't know, maybe I'm getting a little off track here, but the new Hoola Contourist Matte Bronzer palette sucks and I'm anti-hauling it. Oh my gosh, oh no, I forgot I don't get to move on from Benefit just yet. Okay, so not only has Benefit come out with the Contourist palette that nobody asked for, they've also come out with a luminous version of their original Hoola bronzer. Yep, you heard me right, just the original version. They have not come out with luminous versions of all of their bronzers, of which there are only 4, but they have chosen their not lightest, but second to lightest version of their bronzer to make luminous, and they're calling it Hoola Glow. And once again, if you look at the comments under this Trend Mood post, it is just filled with people saying, Benefit, we didn't freaking ask for this. Why do you keep making products that nobody is asking for? We would so much prefer that you expand your bronzer range and come out with a more diverse offering of bronzers that can serve the entirety of the beauty community than coming out with luminous versions of your original bronzer, which works for a very limited amount of people. It's just very stupid. Again, it's those 3 big categories like I was talking about before. Not listening to the consumers. I mean, with this one, I guess it's not being cheap because they came out with a new product, but they probably just like, you know, recycled the old bronzers and mixed them in with like shimmery stuff. I don't know, that doesn't seem like it would be hard to do, but that's just all speculation. Obviously, I don't know, but then also clearly not working with a diverse group of people, because who would approve this other than a bunch of white people that can use this shade? This release just makes me so mad because all people have asked them to do is expand their bronzer range, and they are just determined to do everything but that. They're determined to come out with new face palettes that don't have an inclusive range, and then making luminous versions of one single bronzer. Like, take that money, take the minimal money I'm sure you spent on that, because clearly coming off real cheap here, but take that money you spent on that and put it into expanding your bronzer range. It's just so stupid. I understand that a lot of these brands don't care, but it's also a bad business move. It's poor management of your money, because I can't see people buying these, you know? Maybe somebody who can use the original Hoola will buy the luminous version. I don't know. Well, from what I've heard about the Hoola bronzer, I've never tried it, but from what I've heard about it, I've heard that it was really good in its heyday, but now that there are so many other amazing bronzers out there, it's just kind of okay. So I don't know. Brands do this a lot of the time too, where they hang on to a cult favorite product, you know, like NARS Orgasm, like Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk. They hang on to this product that did well for them and try to just keep building and building and building and building on it. But you could keep building on the Hoola brand by coming out with more Hoola bronzers and more inclusive shades. So this is just a very frustrating situation. Obviously, I'm anti-hauling the Hoola Glow bronzer, and I just really hope Benefit chooses to be inclusive someday, because as of right now, it's very clear that they don't care, and that really sucks. Alright, there's unfortunately a lot more bronzer releases that suck that I need to talk about, but let's take a Colourpop break. It wouldn't be a makeup anti-haul video of mine unless we took a Colourpop break. So today I want to talk to you about the Colourpop X Barbie collection. Now, as a child, I was quite fond of Barbies. You know, I used to like to cut all their hair off and draw things on their faces, but it was you know, Barbie brings fond memories for me. It also brings back a lot of memories of negative body image, but for the most part, it brings back fond memories. This collection, Doesn't give me warm fuzzies though. And a big thing with this collection that I think is kind of like skewing my perspective on it is because as soon as I saw it, I was like, this reminds me of something else. And my friend Dakota posted the same thing on her Instagram story, and her and I were going back and forth, and we realized that this looks like the Kimchi Rainbow Shards palette, which I don't have, but I do follow Kimchi on Instagram, and I remember them posting this palette. And if you look at them side by side, it's not an exact dupe, right? But they're really close to each other. I mean, if you have the Rainbow Shards palette, you in no way need the Colourpop Barbie palette. So I already thought that was kind of weird, and I'm sure it might not be intentional. I think so many color stories have been done at this point. It may not be intentional, but I think that also does show us that the Barbie color story is not revolutionary by any means. But yeah, it really looks like the Rainbow Shards palette to me, and from what I've heard, I haven't tried Kimchi's formula, but my friend Lexi has tried both Kimchi and Colourpop, and she says that Kimchi is far superior to Colourpop. But that's not the only reason I dislike this collection, because, you know, this is kind of a bland color story for me, but whatever, it's Colourpop, it's fine. But what I also didn't like about it is the lipsticks. They look really cheap to me, right? I don't know, I feel like this packaging, e.l.f. does this packaging for some of their lipsticks, right? But those are like $3, and the Colourpop lipsticks are like $7+ now, so. Oh, also, apparently you have to buy them in a lip kit, so you have to buy the lip liner and lipstick together for $16, which is incredibly lame. I know it doesn't seem like a big difference, but that packaging is very cheap and should have a very cheap price tag to match, so that kind of put me off, like, okay, that's it. And then also the highlighter, they came out with one highlighter, which my friend Dakota also pointed out when we were talking, that they come out with the same highlighter for every collection, and it's been old. I was gonna say it's starting to get old, but it's been old this whole time, you know? Stop coming out with one highlighter. And also, don't feel the need to do this huge collection every time. I think that's what gets me frustrated about Colourpop a lot of the times, is that they'll do this collab, and it can never just be like a collab palette. It can never just be one thing. It always has to be a full collection. And you know, obviously, I don't mind when you throw in a couple lipsticks here and there, but when they throw in highlighters and blushes that are just so clearly not universal and not gonna work for everybody, it's like, why? You're just putting it in the packaging. You're just trying to sell the packaging. I saw a lot of people under the Trend Mood post saying, oh my gosh, I'm buying the whole collection. And I know that's why they come out with these collections, because people will buy the whole collection because they're like, oh my gosh, I love Barbie, I want to get everything. But I just really wish they would stop putting wasteful products in there, like that highlighter that's not gonna work for everybody. I bought one collection one time from Colourpop. I bought the Colourpop Makeup Shayla Under Construction collection, and I regret buying the whole collection. I really liked some of the products in the collection, but as soon as I got the whole collection, I was like, why did I do this? Why did I buy into the hype of wanting to have the whole collection? It is so rare that you were going to like every single item in a collection. So yeah, I really hope Colourpop can get rid of the collection thing and just start releasing single things. It's okay to just release one thing at a time, Colourpop. It's totally fine. But yeah, obviously I'm gonna be skipping on the Colourpop X Barbie collection, but I would love to know what you think. This one was kind of like, it's not the harshest thing I'm anti-hauling in this video by any means. I actually feel like Colourpop's been doing a little better lately. They just came out with those cheek palettes that seem to be much more inclusive than they have in the past. I'm not gonna give them too much of a pat on the back because I still feel like they have a long way to go, but they're clearly going in the right direction with these cheek palettes, and I wish that they would keep that same energy for every collection, because you can't just throw out one inclusive collection and be like, okay, we did our job with inclusivity. You gotta keep that energy and keep going with it, Colourpop. So as I always say, I'm watching you, Colourpop. Get better, do better, please. And yeah, now unfortunately we have to go back to another terrible bronzer release. And the terrible bronzer in question is actually a part of a face palette from our good friend Charlotte Tilbury, and she has come out with the Instant Look of Love palettes. She came out with 2 of them. How many face palettes is enough? Certainly not 2, that's for darn sure. But so these are the face palettes right here, and now I'm gonna show you the swatches, because they did swatch them on different skin tones. Here's the first one. Okay, they have 2 different names. I don't know, they don't really matter. They're like glowing princess and magical nymph. I don't know, that's not what they are. But here's the first palette, and then here is the second palette. They don't look all that different, do they? So when you look at the actual palettes in the picture, I've deduced that I think what Charlotte did was made one palette that's more like warm tones and one palette that's more like cool tones, and those are the two shades, and they're both intended for light skin tones. So that really sucks when you see a face palette, right? Because when face palettes come in different shades, they're supposed to be for different skin tones, but clearly here it just seems like they're both for the same skin tone, but one's more of a contour and one's more of a bronzer. It's a bad launch. It's a really bad release, and I just feel like Charlotte Tilbury's been really blowing it lately, honestly, for a while. Just she has not been very inclusive in her range for quite some time. I know she has started to expand in other areas, like I think she came out with a deeper version of some sort of face palette a while ago, but then she'll come out with something else like this, and it's like, it's all for naught, you know? You have to keep that same energy going. When you expand your range in one area, you have to expand it everywhere, and it just looks so bad when you come out with new products that are not inclusive after you tried to be inclusive with something else. And what really frustrates me about Charlotte Tilbury and some of these other luxury brands, who I'm going to talk about soon, who don't expand their bronzer range, is that you're luxury brands. You're supposed to have the money to do this, you know? A lot of more independent makeup brands will do like awful face palette launches and then be like, oh, it's because we couldn't afford to do so. Like I know Persona Cosmetics just came out with 2 bronzers and everyone was roasting them, rightfully so, saying this is not enough. And they tried to come back and say, oh, we could only afford to do 2 to start. And it's like, if you can only afford to do 2, then freaking wait. Don't come out with 2 at once. Or if you can only come out with 2, come out with your lightest shade and your deepest shade. But honestly, no, don't even do that. Just wait until you have the money to do it. I feel like complexion is expensive, yeah, because you have to have a wide range. And if you can't afford to get there yet, I think you just have to wait, you know? And I also feel like that's just such a cop-out excuse, because you can only afford to come out with a certain amount of products and you chose to come out with shades that are aimed towards lighter skin tones, and that just sucks. And that is just such a slap in the face to people with deeper skin tones and just makes them feel like you don't care about them at all, and that's just awful. So don't do that. But I brought up this point because when you have brands like Charlotte Tilbury, who are luxury brands and who you know bring in a ton of money, they have all of these cult favorite products that are very expensive. You know, you see her working on celebrities and all of this stuff. It's supposed to be a brand with all this money, and they don't channel that money into inclusivity. And that just is a clear case of not caring about the audience that you're serving. And I think that really sucks, and it doesn't make me want to support the brand at all. But these face palettes especially suck, and they are definitely anti-hauled. Alright, speaking of luxury brands who are committed to not being inclusive, let's talk about the new Victoria Beckham Bronzing Bricks. So this really sucks because I've already seen a review of this. My friend Tara reviewed the first shade of this, and supposedly it's lovely, but I really wish that Victoria had chosen to come out with an inclusive range that everybody could enjoy. Because if you look at these 5 shades she came out with, 5 sounds like not the worst release in the world. It's not nearly what it needs to be at, but you know, like I just said, we have brands like Persona that come out with 2 products. We have Charlotte Tilbury who comes with 2 shades. So you hear 5 and you're like, oh, okay, that might be pretty good, but these are the 5. And particularly, I'd like you to look at the jump between the 4th and 5th shade, the 2 deepest shades. Look at what a big jump that is. I mean, that's clearly not good when you have such a big jump between shades, whereas if you look at the first 3 shades, there's subtle differences between them, and then the last 2 shades, it's like here and there, you know? So that's just such a clear sign that you are not filling the entire range. And I don't know if she intends to come out with more shades in the future, but like we've been saying with all of these releases, if you intend to come out with more shades in the future, maybe wait until the future to release it all. I would so much rather have a brand exist for like 5 years before coming out with a bronzer range, if when they did come out with the bronzer range, it was incredible, you know? I'm trying to think of any examples of when this has happened before. I mean, Fenty didn't launch as a brand at all until they had a complexion range that they felt was going to suit everybody. So I feel like that's a good example of a brand that waited until they had the inclusivity before releasing stuff. But I just wish more brands would take that approach, because this is really, really disappointing. I mean, I remember with the picture getting posted, and again, if you read the trend mood comments underneath, it's just filled with people saying, wow, that sucks that they didn't choose to have an inclusive shade range for this product, because Victoria Beckham is another luxury brand. You would just expect them to have the money to do this. So it really does come off as if you don't care when you don't release an inclusive range like this. Either you don't care or you don't have a diverse group of people you're working with to let you know that this is not enough, and that sucks. So I really hope in the future Victoria Beckham takes the note and is able to come out with a more inclusive shade range for their bronzers. So I personally am not going to be buying the Victoria Beckham bronzer bricks. I am not judging you if you do. If you still want to, if there's one for your shade range, absolutely go for it, do you. But I personally am just trying not to buy any bronzers that don't have an inclusive range. I definitely have some in my collection right now that don't, like my Milani bronzer does not have a good inclusive range, but I'm trying for the future to not buy bronzers that don't have an inclusive range. So for me, I am absolutely not buying this product, and that's why it's in my anti-haul. Alright, scoochie to the middle, because you guys, we've reached the end of the video. Oh my goodness, the only thing keeping me going throughout this video is smelling my key lime candle. It just smells so good. Oh, so lovely. I hope you liked this video. I hope I could educate you about some product releases that maybe you hadn't heard about, or maybe you weren't aware of their lack of inclusivity in the shade range. I feel like that was the overarching theme for this video, was just terrible bronzer ranges and brands just not simply giving a darn about it, and that really sucks. We're going into summertime right now. Bronzer is like the summer product, you know? I know I personally definitely bronze a little more in the summertime because I'm slapping on my sunscreen, baby. I'm trying to prevent these wrinkles, trying to prevent skin cancer, so I'm bronzing it up to keep with the summertime times. So it just really sucks that in a time where bronzer is so prevalent, brands are determined to just come out with awful bronzer ranges. You know, especially going into summertime, everybody tends to have a summer shade for their foundation, so people's complexions tend to be deeper in the summertime. So why you would come out with terrible bronzer ranges just makes even less sense, you know, because that's something brands try to do sometimes, where they'll release like a winter release and it will have like a terrible shade range, and they'll go, oh well, people are in their winter shades, people tend to be more pale in the winter, and it's like, screw you. That's not really what you think. That's not really what you think. That's such an excuse. It's so awful, and just stop doing it. Stop doing it. But yeah, especially in summertime, do better with the bronzers. But I'd love to hear what you guys think about all of these product releases. Are you buying anything? No judgment on this side of the camera. If you are, it's your money, it's your wallet. You are allowed to do what you want. Just because I don't want to buy something or give money to a brand does not mean that you cannot. I am not the boss of you. I am simply your coworker. Are we coworkers? I sometimes feel like we're coworkers. You know, I certainly dish to you guys like your coworkers. I'm getting all rambly now. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. That lets YouTube know to recommend it to other like-minded adults like yourself. And leave me a comment letting me know what you're anti-hauling this month. I would love to hear from you. And check out my description box for all of the makeup details on the makeup on my face today, as well as a bunch of Black Lives Matter resources and resources to support the Asian American community. So please click on those links if you haven't yet. And I thank you so much for watching, and I'll smell you later. Okay, bye.